lesson 39, finding slope and y-intercept from an equation. Now we're really putting pieces together. We know how to identify these two elements of an equation from a graph. We know how to do it from a table, and we'll also be able to see it in the equation. So here's our look for it. We're going to use the inverse operation to isolate y and have an equation in the form of y equals mx plus b. We're going to understand that the coefficient of x is the slope. Usually is written as a fraction, but it can be a whole number. So that coefficient we call m is slope. And we'll understand that the b is the term, oops, let's highlight that. The b is the term for the y-intercept. So that is that number here, that y coordinate, when x equals 0. So let's jump on in. We're used to seeing slope-intercept form written in that equation, y equals mx plus b. And we know definitely that this is a slope, and we know how to calculate that. And this is the y coordinate in the y-intercept. Okay, so it's pretty easy to recognize. As long as you have an equation written in this form, you can identify slope on sight. So look at this first equation, y equals negative 2x plus 5. Here's my slope, negative 2. If you need to write it as a fraction, it could just be negative 2 over 1, but both work. And how do we find our intercept? It's right here. So we know that the 5 is a coordinate, so my intercept is 0, 5. That's it. That's all we have to do. So these are going to be pretty quick. Let's look at the next equation. Now here, there is no coefficient. That means my slope is just 1, or 1 over 1. That's it. If it was negative x, it would be negative 1. And figuring out b, my b is negative 2. So my intercept is 0, negative 2. Try the last one, jot it down. Okay, there you have it. Slope is 1/2, intercept 0, 3. And that's it. Now, it is possible that you might see an equation written without a b. So let's say, for example, you have y equals 3x. If you don't see a b, you can literally write plus 0 so it doesn't change, and then you know your intercept is 0, 0. So that's what you would do if you didn't see a b there. All right, hit pause and jot this down into your notes. So what happens if our equation is not written in y-intercept form? It was so easy, right? When we could just see it, we could see the m and we could see the b. Well, if you get an equation just like this one, 2y plus 6 equals x, all we're gonna do is isolate, solve it for y. That is it. So watch what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna put 2y plus 6 equals x, and I just want this by itself. So I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides, same way we do every other equation. 2y is equal to x minus 6. And watch this part. So I'm going to divide by 2 here, and I'm going to divide this entire expression here by 2. Okay? So on this end, I'm left with y is equal to, and I'm going to separate this section here, x over 2 minus 6 over 2. So I want you to definitely pay attention to this part here, how I've rewritten it by just separating it into 2 different terms. Now I'm going to do one more change here so that I can have a very clear m. Instead of having x divided by 2, I'm going to turn this into a multiplication to create, and I want to create a coefficient. So instead of putting divide by 2, I'm going to multiply by 1/2. They have the exact same value. So think about it. If I have, let me just finish writing this out, minus 3. So let's say, for example, x was equal to 10. 10 divided by 2. I could also rewrite this as 1/2 times 10. They have the exact same value, which would be 5. Okay, so if you get into a situation like this and you see this, you can rewrite it by turning that into a coefficient. All right, so now that we have it in y equals mx plus b form, we can easily see the parts that we need. So our slope is right here. Our slope is 1/2. And our intercept is here. B is -3, so our intercept is 0, -3. Hit pause and jot this down into your notes. Okay, here's your turn to try this out. You have the equation 6x minus 3y is equal to 9. Try this out on your own. Turn this into a y equals mx plus b formula, and then identify the slope as well as your intercepts. Okay, let's do the reveal in 3, 2, and 1. Here you go. Here's your y-intercept, 0, -3, and your slope is 2. Check off and see if you have the same answers. If you do, you can end the video here and get ready to do your checkpoint. But if you got a different answer, let's see how we got here and see if we can identify what our error is. All right, let's do a nice clean page. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take our formula, our equation, 6x minus 3, 9, and I'm going to put it into y-intercept form. I'm going to subtract 6x, and now I have -3y is equal to -6x plus 9. And now I'm going to divide by our coefficient, -3, and I'm going to divide this part by -3. This leaves me with y is equal to -6 divided by -3x plus 9 divided by -3. All right, let's solve this last part. Simplify. -6 divided by -3 is 2x, and 9 divided by -3 is -3. Okay, now that we have this in y-intercept form, we can identify the b, which is right here, -3. So my intercept is 0, -3. You have to put the coordinates down. And our slope is our coefficient right over here. So m is equal to 2. If they ask for it in fraction form, you could have 2/1, but 2 is fine. And that's it. So check off if you had a different answer. See if you can identify where the error was. Was it in the division with negative integers? Was there a mistake just in the algebra? Or did you have an error figuring out the terms and which was the slope and which was the intercept? If you're not sure, you can go back to the beginning of the video and try and catch it again, or ask for more feedback during practice. So that's it for today's lesson. We checked off using inverse operations to isolate for y. So when the equation is not written in y-intercept form, just like this one, we're going to rewrite it into that form. Then we will understand that the x is the slope. So our m, I didn't write it as a fraction here, but we could. We could have just 2/1, but I've simplified it to 2 in this one. And we understand that the b is the y-intercept, is that y coordinate in that when x equals 0. So if you see me written it right over here, b is -3, I've written the y-intercept as 0, -3. I don't just write -3. And that's it for today's lesson, Math Marvels. I'll see you in the next one. Be well.